More so things to invest. We're talking about investing, finance, and professional. For today's edited episode only, the events I'm going to talk about today would be Ethereum ETH. First, I want to say happy Tuesday, everybody. For a great week so far. Respect to recording time of 11:42 a.m. on Eastern time. Ethereum country $3,803, up about 0.50% so far. On the overall crypto market, it's a kind of a mixed bag, right? But I would say on the majority of perspective, is relatively more of a greenish slash normalized day so far. While the equity size obviously seems like it's still, sustaining that negative sentiment around the FOMC meeting that's happening today all the way to tomorrow. But on the external publication front so far, there's no confirmatory signal with respect to what Jerome is going to announce, which I believe is going to be happening later tomorrow after the entire FOMC meeting concludes. And then he's going to give a high-level synopsis or, understanding around the inflationary pressure, the quantitative tapering going forward, how the bond yield raise is going to triangulate with the asset purchasing, the $120 billion that we will be, doing on a monthly basis going forward. And with that affectation, triangulating with the, still up in the air, the Omicron affectation, seems like some viruses are still, percolating in respective regions of the world. And on top of the recent, unfortunate news with respect to the tornado that happened in Kentucky, not sure if that has any specific macro drivers onto the sell-off as well, but obviously it's definitely terrible to hear. So my condolences to the folks out in Kentucky. So with respect to overall market on the crypto side, just normalizing, hedging against with respect to the foreseeable outcome of the FOMC meeting happening later today, and obviously with the confirmatory signals or some conclusion by tomorrow. So right now, with respect to Ethereum, before I go into the news, let me just dive into the technicals first, so you guys will have that clear mindset as we go into the more of the murky water, which are news that you kind of have to take that with a filter lens, if you may, right? So right now, Ethereum is below the 3,843, which is technically the real level of consolidation. And the level that we're hovering right now is really at a relatively weak level. If you look at it comparing to the beginning of September that we've had last, a couple of months ago, this is the level that we have sustained a little bit. So right now, you could say this is a consolidation, but I would just say this is a relatively weak consolidation level. The more substantive one is actually at the 3,843, right? And if we break below the current level, we're going to be in for coming down ideally to the more of a flat number, 3,650, but more substantively to the 3,475, which is the reason why we got caught up when we sold off on the previous weekend, right? So right now, would it be ideal to dollar cost average at the moment? I would say, yeah, you should be logically implying some sort of exposure at the moment. It's not terrible. I think it's a logical move, right? Do I see like coming down all the way to 3,150? I don't think so, because of the fact that we're relatively depleted right now. And I would say, Ethereum is actually relatively undervalued based on the technicals right now. So I would say, if out of all the times, in the previous months and weeks, right now would be a relatively good time to incur more risk at the moment. For Bitcoin, it's a little bit more funky, but I would say it's a little bit more bullish in comparisons to Ethereum because of the fact that we're more depleted on 34-hour on the RSI scale. And we are, still having that downward wedge type of formation. So right now we again kind of levitating between the 47 to 44 or 43,900, but I'll just get that at 44 just to round it up. So right now it's not a terrible level to incur risk either. So Bitcoin and Ethereum are both a relatively interesting buy right now. So ultimately it's up to your risk tolerance, but I think in a technical front, this is not terrible to be incurring risk right now. Dogecoin, obviously mainly driven by that news from Elon Musk that he's proposing that he might be, transacting with Dogecoin as a form of payment in Tesla. He also said that he actually likes Dogecoin more than Bitcoins in terms of its utilization and its value proposition. I mean, it's a more of a sporadic post. Is it anything substantive? I would say no. It's more just I would say this is gonna fade out eventually. We'll see how that goes, right? But Dogecoin seems to have some interesting people on the corporate front that are sitting on the boards. So it might just not be a meme coin after all. But what do I know, right? I'm not behind the scenes. I don't sit on the board. I don't have full clarity. But in terms of Dogecoin right now, would I be buying now? Just basically purely based on technical, I would say probably not. I'll probably stay away because we're relatively in the neutrals / higher upper echelon of the overall block right now. We did form a golden cross. That's the reason why we're crossing up right now. But you can see how much people have immediately sold back down, right? As we hit to the 22, it subsequently come back to below 20. So it seems like we just one big pump, but nothing really substantive to further build upon this assets in the architectural perspective. Cardano is up about 1.54%, 134 to 119 is still a good dip, right? And I don't think we're gonna go down further to like the $1 mark. That will be relatively absurd in a technical perspective. I think right now it's pretty much at the bottom, so Cardano is actually not a terrible buy. Solana is at the exact level that we identify, 155. So I think right now it's not a terrible level to incur risk at. I think it's a fair level. Right, but as we go down further, 133 to 113, those are going to be attractive. Obviously, 133 is going to be attractive. 113 is going to be a steal level. I think 113 would be a stretch, actually, because we are already oversold. XRP is up about 0.7%. Right now, hovering between 88 and 78, so I think right now it's not terrible in terms of incurring risk right now, with the 35 out of 70 about to cross upward right now. So not terrible. I think XRP is a good buy if you think about building a long-term position for yourself. Polkadot 25, we're basically at the bottom at the moment with the 33 out of 70. So yeah, I think Polkadot is at the bottom right now. I think this is a downward wedge, right? Do we see like cracking down below to like 1871? I think that was a flash crash. That gives a low probability, but I think if that's the case, I think going down to 20 cents will be possible because it's a flat number. ALGORAND, just selling down. The bottom was formed at the 131, and that's pretty much the bottom. Right now it's just reversing because of oversold of how much it got depleted. Ultimately, it's up to your risk aversion because ALGORAND seems like it's just a lack of investment appetite in general, just in a whole, right? And that's also illustrates from the psychological chart that we see in front of us, right? This shows a lot of bearish momentum and lack of utilization and adoption. Shiba Inu is up about 2.5%, 2,900 to 900 still the dip for us. Right now it's okay, if you want to buy for a long term, you believe that Shiba Inu is a good hedge to Dogecoin or even other altcoin. I think this is more of a, I would say, more of a secondary option for me, to be honest with you. So it's up to your risk aversion. Obviously, a lot of people made a lot of money in Shiba Inu and Dogecoin because of the meme-like effect. They're very hyped. But, hype never really, have that substantive gravitas to sustain long-term value proposition, right? So it's up to your aversion. It's up to your tolerance. MACTAC is up about 2.65%, anywhere from 175 to 143 would be the logical level. I think right now we're still in a bearish state despite the reversal right now because the overall market is kind of normalizing. And altcoins typically would have a better, momentum in terms of like going left or going right or going up or going down, right? It's that inertia that altcoin will have is a lot more prompt and a lot more premature in comparisons to more of a stable coin for obvious reasons. Those are more mature assets, right? So with respect to 4707 out of 70, I think right now is you're probably way off until 175 to 143, knowing the fact that we're still bearish. AVAX, I think right now is a good dip right now. Anywhere from current level to 60 is still good. We're at this 40 out of 70. So if you want to wait until like we go to like the 70 or 60, why not right now? But we'll see how it goes. I think right now it's actually not a terrible level to incur some risk at the moment. And looking at the news front, the Zynga 3 hours to top out with respect to Cathie Woods, which is the CIO or the founder of ARK Invest. she thinks that Ethereum is a lot more undervalued than Bitcoin. I think so, in terms of the utilization, the NFT commercialization front, and also on a technical front as well. I think, would I say that's a fair statement? I think Bitcoin is actually a little bit more oversold in comparisons to Ethereum, but just slightly, right? So I don't know, like how more undervalued. I think that's not really a fair statement because they are kind of different animals altogether. Obviously, they're comparable, but they're not like apples to apples either. But in terms of like obviously the entry price level, I think if Ethereum is low in comparisons to Bitcoin, which is one of the reasons why she says undervalued. So yeah, to each his own. I think it's a understandable statement, but I don't know how substantive that is. But in terms of technical, I would say Bitcoin's actually more undervalued in a technical perspective, purely at the moment. And then next one's a Bazinga about 3 hours. We'll talk about Bored Ape NFT accidentally sold for $3,000 instead of $300,000. And this is the picture that we talked about a couple of days ago. It's like a leopard print monkey with like a 3D goggle glasses with like a orange or like a mustard orange background. Yeah, it was sold for $3,000 instead of $300,000, but it's too late by the time they transact. And I think the seller caught it too late, which is unfortunate because what they call on Steam BC, which also talks about the same article, a fat finger mistake, which I sometimes butt dial or just typo or autocorrect because Apple products does it sometimes. Despite like I'd have to like recorrect and like type it all over again, but it still corrects for you. So it's a funky thing. And then that's pretty much it on the news front. Let's just go into the recap. These are the risk management levels that I identify overall. No changes overall. Let me know if you have any specific questions around the key levels of supports that we have identified here. I think it's pretty logical for you to like have some cash reserve to start dollar cost averaging or building up your position for these respective coins. Obviously, based on my depiction so far, some are more bullish than other, and some are more undervalued than other. But ultimately, it's about long-term value creation. So pick your best horse in your race, right? And I think I am bullish on Ethereum and Bitcoin. That's why my entire holding are in those respective coins. So that's my perspective. That's my personal tolerance. But yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert in crypto, especially not in all these different assets, right? So let me know if you have any specific questions. I'm happy to do homework or research if you have any specific ones. I'm just someone that reads news, do research, do some financial modeling, combined with my experience working as an investor to triangulate what's the right execution methodology. So I'm not always right. And I'm just a human being, right? But appreciate your support and your friendship. I really love you guys. You guys are, motivating me to be pushing for you guys, despite how tired or exhausted I get sometimes. But you guys are supporting me, and it's my duty to be reciprocal, right? To support you guys as well. And let's do this together. We will all be successful eventually. So thank you so much, and stay tuned for this to come up. Take care.